the newly elected president of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. Thank you for joining us this evening. Boy, 2020 has accelerated at a really difficult landscape, and it's already really hard for journalists to navigate. So we thought we'd host this forum this evening to look forward to 2021 and to begin providing our members significant career and changing opportunities, as well as to our industry colleagues. So to that end, we've invited the International Center for Journalists to join us this evening to share some opportunities with all of you. ICFJ works with reporters worldwide. They help them to build expertise and storytelling skills. The organization fosters news innovations, it builds strong networks of investigative reporters, and runs exchange programs to deepen understanding among journalists on how various countries, journalists in various countries gather news. So to that end, let me go ahead and introduce you to our guest tonight. We are joined by ICFJ program experts, Joanna Carrillo and Aldana Valles. Excuse me. As Vice President of Programs, Joanna Carrillo is responsible for ensuring that the organization delivers high impact opportunities to the thousands of journalists in its growing network. Carrillo and her staff oversee as many as 70 programs a year for journalists. They range from media innovation programs, such as the flagship ICFJ Night Fellowships, to investigative reporting networks such as Conectas. All are designed to support journalists to do exceptional reporting that helps to improve governments, economies, societies, and even lives. Aldana runs ICFJ initiatives focusing on media innovation and diversity. She manages Velocidad, an accelerator program for Latin American startups, and ICFJ's long-running Bringing Home the World program for US-based minority journalists. She's also in charge of the Social Media Solutions program, which provides digital and social media training for journalists in the Middle East and North Africa. She's passionate about diversity and inclusion in the media, and she has previously worked on expanding opportunities for women and Latinx communities. Before joining ICFJ, she worked with the Membership Puzzle Project, helping media organizations experiment with audience-centered business models. And she also provides research support to identify best practices on community engagement around the world. So with that, thank you, ladies, and thank you to ICFJ for being a partner to NAHJ.
Thank you for having us.
We will have an opportunity for participants to ask questions at the end of the program or to share advice. You will be given up to 2 minutes to speak. So full disclosure, I will mute you if you go a little too far over. And you can also drop a request into chat with your name and organization, and we'll introduce you. We encourage everyone to share on social media with hashtag ICFJ by NAHJ, ICFJX NAHJ, excuse me. And of course, hashtag more Latinos in news. So let's jump right in. Let's see. Tell us about the purpose of the program and some of the initiatives that exist for journalists and how they can help to expand their skills and expertise. Let's jump right into it then.
Let's do this. Thank you so much for having us again, Nora. Very exciting. So yes, for the ones who don't know ICFJ, we've been doing this for over 36 years. We have worked with more than 150,000 journalists from 180 countries. And yes, we do have programs in the US as well. And as Nora well said, we work at the nexus of journalism and technology. And you're asking about the purpose of the program. And of course, when you also mentioned that we do about 70 programs every year, the themes vary, right? The regions, but the purpose is simple, and they share the same purpose: to increase knowledge and skills for our journalists, to give access to journalists from all sorts of background to opportunities, right? Especially the ones that they don't normally have training opportunities in their countries or in the region. We spread media innovation, leading to scores of startups, new tools for better storytelling. But everything we do is under the belief that better journalism leads to better lives. That's the main goal.
Anything else you can add, Aldana, in terms of how your program enhances journalist skills and expertise?
Sure, absolutely. Well, there are, as Joanna said, there are many different programs, and each program tries to address this goal of increasing the quality of journalism worldwide in a different way. We have programs that provide new skills for journalists, and in that sense, we provide webinars. Well, right now, webinars, of course, we do online training, but in another context, we would provide in-person workshops, for example. We also support the work of investigative reporters around the world. We support newsrooms when they have innovative projects what we do is we fund new projects in order to help them reach some goals that they have for their newsroom. So it depends on the program, but we have this variety of programs to support the work of journalists and newsrooms.
So there are a tremendous amount of programs out there, ladies, and a lot of them remain unknown to the vast majority of folks. So what are the challenges and the steps to finding the right program for journalists? Either Joanna or Aldana, whoever wants to take the question.
I personally, yeah, no, just one part. I don't personally think that the challenge is necessarily to find the training opportunities. A very simple Google search can take you places. To me, the main challenge is to find the one that is right for you, the one that speaks to you and you are the perfect candidate for that fellowship or training opportunity, and then to actually get it. Well done.
Right. Yes, but I understand the question and this idea of sometimes if these programs are unknown to many people. And I can speak from my experience being a journalist, and also when I was a student, I wanted to get a fellowship or I wanted to get a scholarship to advance in my career, and I didn't know where to start. And as Joanna said, Google will take you places. A simple search on Google is going to give you a lot of results, but we can share with you some resources or some places where you can start your research for this. The first one is IJNet, the sister organization of ICFJ.
I just shared the link.
Oh, perfect. It is the right place to start because what ICFJ, what IJNet does is from time to time, it has articles about opportunities. For example, 7 opportunities for journalists in November or in December or for 2021. So they have a list of several opportunities for journalists around the world. Also, I would suggest the Knight Center for Journalists. That's also a great resource.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the sources that I've looked for in the past was the Sembra Media. I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you've heard. Sembra Media is an organization that supports digital outlets in Latin America, and they also have a list of fellowships or opportunities for journalists. Google, as I mentioned, and of course you can make your own list of programs. When you search for all these programs and you find the ones that are right for you, and maybe some of them, the applications are closed, but they will open next year, and you make this list so you can remember next year to apply. So these are just a few ways to start your search for this opportunity.
And talking to your colleagues, to talk to the people in your newsroom, see what is it that they have applied for, either they made it or not. There's so many things out there, so many opportunities, and yes, creating your own list and knowing a calendar for the next calendar year if you miss the deadline is a really great tip.
Right.
So Joanna, tell me what are organizations like yours looking for in candidates?
Oh, great question. First, I will say diversity. ICFJ puts a tremendous emphasis in making sure that we select journalists from different backgrounds, the ones that work in awesome big media organizations, but also freelancers, and also, you know, journalists from outside the big cities, journalists that, you know, try to become an entrepreneur and didn't make it. Now they're looking for a job and they you know, they need new skills. It's a combination of, you know, of backgrounds that we always need, and it makes any program richer. I personally look for a fabulous application. I know it's obvious, but you will be surprised by how many journalists think that their background speaks by itself. And, you know, I'm so great, I'm totally gonna get this fellowship. And then they put very little effort in presenting a really excellent application. And the other side is true. Sometimes journalists that don't have, you know, 15 years of experience working in spectacular media organizations, but the passion and they do their homework so well that their application is perfect. You really want that person, right? And commitment to the field. I want journalists that want to be doing this. I don't want people that just found this in Google or a friend told them and they're like, I'm gonna fill out this form to see if I make it, it will be cool. They really are not into it, they're not passionate. And they need to understand, you know, the purpose of the specific fellowship. We do have cases of chronic appliers. You can tell that they are applying to different places, and that is easy to see. It's easy to see that they are not very focused in this specific fellowship. They don't want to participate in this specific program. They just want to get anything, you know. So yeah, I don't know, Aldana, what else will you look for?
Anna, anything else that you can offer in terms of what you're looking for in candidates?
Sure, of course. And it's very similar to what Joanna was saying, someone who can share, who can show this passion for journalism, as she was saying, not only show their excellence, but also that they can show that they've done their research on the fellowship or on the program or on the project that they want to propose for a program, and they can actually show how they are going to achieve it or how they are going to work on it. One of the things that I would add is potential. When we read through applications, we try to anticipate what is going to happen with that project, or what the results are going to be, what the impact of that person, of that project is going to be. And we try to read that when we read through the application. So that's the only thing that I would add. Yeah.
Well, so then you guys have been talking a lot about, you know, good applications. Well, any advice, any tips that you can give our folks here to prepare a really great application that's really going to grab you and interest you?
Of course, yeah, that's what we're here for. So I will say something very cliche, but I think it's true, that a really great application is like a great love letter. Like, you just read it and you just know that person is, you know, right for, in this case, the program. Is someone who did, again, the homework. They, if the application is to present a proposal, then that proposal needs to be solving a problem that exists. That person needs to know already there is an issue in my community or in my city or in my media, you know, and TV, whatever, in my field, and I want to try to solve it this way. They need to tell you whether others have been trying to do it and they have not been successful, and why they think that they will succeed. They need to know what is the impact that the project is going to have, the obstacles that they're going to face, how are they planning on facing them, budget, people, journalists, take a free online course. journalists that manage, the idea of the budget, I think are great, because for many of these programs, we actually give them a grant, right? They need to manage grant money. So it's good to see if they're thinking, suppose that the program is a reporting grant. So they want to travel overseas to do a story, which is the program that Aldana can talk more about, bringing home the world. They need to present a budget. They need to say, this is what I have in mind. 2 weeks in South Africa with 2 fixers and a cameraman and translators. And then when I come back, I need editing. That, again, but someone who has done the homework, someone who has the whole idea in their head and in a very articulate way, they can express it to judges or selection committees. Aldana?
Right, right, absolutely. I would say that there are 3 categories on that a candidate or someone who's going to apply for a program, for a fellowship, for anything that they need to consider. The first one is the previous research in terms of the terms, the conditions, the criteria of this program or grant or whatever type of program, yes, that they are applying to see if they are eligible for the program, so they don't spend all this time trying to apply to a program that in the end it's not going to consider them because they're not eligible for the program. And that's the first one. And the second one would be what Joanna was saying in terms of do your research, do your homework. It is not the same someone who sends a budget saying I'm going to need this amount of money for travel, and another one that says that submits, for example, a quote from a photographer that they already been in touch with, and they know how much they're going to spend, for example, when they hire that person. So when the more detailed a proposal, the best, because then we can see that this person knows what they're talking about and what they want to report on. It is not the same saying, it's like pitching a story to an editor, right? It's not the same when you pitch, I want to cover poverty in this part of the world, but when you say in this part of the world, these are the statistics, this is the research that I've done before, and these are the things that other outlets have been publishing about this, but this particular focus has been absent, for example, and I want to cover this. Well, that's a totally different pitch, right? So for the applications, it's the same story.
And another simple tip is check out who won that fellowship or that opportunity last year. Who are they? Why did they make it? Talk to them, call them, find out their email addresses and contact them. What did you propose? How has it been? What did you learn? What is your advice for when I apply this year? Very few people do that. Same with contacting the organizers. If you do not make it, sure, it's hard for an ICFJ or a similar organization to respond to every question from the hundreds of applications, but very few people are interested in knowing why they didn't make it. What were they missing? And over the years, I've responded to them and I've said, your application was good. However, you were missing X, Y, Z. And the last thing is, do not give up. And again, another cliche thing, but I feel that especially young journalists, they have a lot of energy and they try, but when they are mid-career, they kind of put all of their energy into this one perfect fellowship opportunity. And if they don't make it, they don't try again. And so many times at ICFJ, we have selected participants or fellows that have applied for the 3rd time, the 4th time. They just, every time it was better until they made it. But if they had given up, they would have never, gotten the opportunity.
Yeah, in those instances, was it the same project that they were pitching?
No, so refining it always. You can tell, right? Every time you read the application, you're like, okay, they totally are getting it. They are in, more focused, or the budget is better, or the whatever proposal is it's better quality. Yeah.
And can you give us an idea on the range on these grants in general? How much can folks expect to maybe get for their project?
Okay, so we do about 70 programs a year, right? So
okay, just a range.
Right, so if it is a reporting grant, it's not more than the range we asked you to tell us, and maybe Aldana, you can talk about bringing home the world again, but we basically asked you to tell us what the story that you want to cover is about, why it's important for your community, why do you need to travel to South Africa, really? Why do you want to go there? And so the budget matches your idea, of course. So that it's not about the range, it's about, are you asking for the money that you need, or are you just putting things in the budget because how great would it be to have a drone, right? So yes, that when it comes to reporting grants or investigative, stories, we also work with newsrooms, and we give grant to newsrooms as part of some of the programs, and that range varies tremendously depending on the donor, on the funder. I see if Jason, we have funders in the program, yes.
Yes. And of course, it depends on the project. For example, for newsrooms, when they apply for grants, they probably are thinking about either hiring a few people to cover some positions, for example, as project managers for the project that they're proposing. So it depends. That tends to be higher than reporting grants, because for reporting grants, it's only for one journalist, for one journalist. So it depends on the program and on the reporting grant. As Joanna was saying, bringing home the world. It's not that they apply for a specific amount of money for the grant. This is actually that ends up being decided at the end when they redefine the budget, and they know more about the proposal. They work on the proposal, so they redefine that, and then they get to the final amount that they are going to spend on that reporting. So it depends on each program.
All right, so you shouldn't be afraid to ask for what you think your program needs, is basically. Okay, excellent.
Exactly. That's why the budget is such an important part of this type of applications, because if you can make your case, then it means that you have thought through all these details, and you probably know what you're talking about.
Wonderful. Well, I've been familiar with the program. I think I shared with you, both Joanna and Aldana, when we met earlier this week, because our paper has been a host paper over the years. We've hosted a couple of visiting journalists from Turkey, from, God, all over the world. We've had journalists visit our newsroom, and I personally have always enjoyed doing so. I like to think that I go all out for them. They're here for a couple of weeks. I'll set them up with reporters covering specific beats and send them out. And I think they've managed to have a really good time. I remember one particular journalist who was a sports writer. And so when he came, he happened to come during basketball season. So we actually had him tag along with one of our NBA players, and he got to go to the game, was on
amazing.
The locker room, and Islam, I still remember his name. And he just had a fantastic time. So I was really happy that we were able to provide that opportunity for him and do those kinds of things. And they always, we always end up hosting like a little brown bag at the end of their 2 weeks, where we invite the rest of the staff in, and they share with us what it's like for them in their home countries to be a journalist, and the kind of access or lack of access that they might have. And they're always fascinated with the kind of access that we have here, that we enjoy here in the US. So I think it's a really valuable program, an exchange program that really gives you an insight Do we have similar, do you have similar opportunities
Yes,
for U.S.
I
journalists?
just, yeah, I just shared in the chat, the first one that comes to mind, we're bringing virtually, right? Bringing journalists from Algeria, Bahrain, you can read the countries in the chat. We will be looking for newsrooms to host them virtually. Now, in a typical non-pandemic year, we have several programs that bring journalists from overseas to the US. We place them in US newsrooms, explaining this to everyone who might not understand what the hosting means. We place them in US newsrooms and they become part of the staff. They are kind of like a professional intern, right? We do give a small grant to the newsroom to be, thank them for the effort. And then for many of those programs, not particular for this one I just shared, but for others in which we bring Latin American journalists to the US, we send hosts to their countries. So if you host a journalist from, say, Colombia for a month, then you get to apply to go to Colombia and visit your journalist's newsroom and his or her city, and and we do an agenda for you to learn more about the journalism state in their country, etc. So these are really excellent opportunities that very few people know they exist, and it's a way for your whole newsroom to benefit from having an international reporter that you connect with for the rest of your life. I have a few fellows or journalists that participated in programs 10 years ago, and whenever something big happens in their country, immediately the host connects and they do a report, and it's years of friendship and long-lasting professional relationships that helps in many, many ways. And so that's an opportunity that we also offer for any of your newsrooms to host an international journalist. I share the link to that one there. Another opportunity that we offer is for any of you to become a trainer, become a speaker, a mentor with us. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because journalists tend to focus on training opportunities, right? That fellowship, that webinar, that workshop, and they forget there's so many other ways for you to shine. Did any of you participate in a great investigation last year? Are you excellent at covering local news? Are you a master of social media? Do you have a specific knowledge that you would love to share with journalists from other countries? Apply. Aldana, do you want to share the link?
I am. I'm doing that exactly right now.
So we have a link. We have a form, super easy form. All you need to tell us is obviously your contact information, but then spell out the topics of expertise that you have, and then perfect, awesome. And then you can become an ICFJ trainer. And what that means, or speaker or mentor. And what that means is that we, in a non-pandemic year, we take you right to other countries. Wherever we're doing a program, we bring the trainers with us. We go there, you get to meet international journalists in a pandemic year, which I think so far is looking like that in 2021 again. Yeah. You do the sessions virtually, you do webinars, you mentor international journalists, and you grow by just doing that. These are obviously paid opportunities. We don't ask you for a favor to become a trainer. It's obviously a job. So please, if you're interested, apply. Tell your colleagues, tell people in your newsroom. We are looking for more specifically POC trainers in the US. So
always looking to expand that network. Yeah.
What an excellent opportunity. We'll share it and let folks know, especially with the keyword being paid. Hey.
But also, it requires a specific set of mind to see yourself as a potential trainer. If you've never done it, you immediately block yourself out and you're like, you know what, I've never been in front of a crowd. I've never trained anybody. I'm not gonna do this. You'll be surprised. I mean, especially this year is easier. You're in a Zoom. You're not gonna get nervous, hopefully on a Zoom webinar training others, but it makes you a better journalist when you share your experience with international journalists that are probably, dealing with a whole lot more sometimes, and they share their experience with you.
Well, before I open it up to questions, any last thing that we didn't touch on, any program that you wanted to highlight? Joanna or Aldana?
Well, I will repeat that we have this not this program, yes, it's a fellowship, the Bringing Home the World program. Right now, it has been suspended this year because it involves traveling overseas and report on something in another country and then come back to the States and report from here. So that has been suspended, but as I mentioned when we started this conversation, that's one of the programs, for example, that you should keep in mind and see when the applications are open again, so you can apply.
Yeah, IJNet. So if you scroll up, I guess in the chat, you will see that we've been sharing links.
Yes.
One of them is IJNet, the International Journalist Network, La Red Internacional para Periodistas, is published in all of these languages. So on IJNet, there's a few opportunities there. You can pitch a story back to your skills or your knowledge. You want to share your knowledge, pitch your idea to IJNet. We have an IJNet podcast focused on mental health that I really invite all of you to check out. And it's an IJNet where you will find training opportunities. I mean, we do that homework for you. We let you know in the bulletin every week about the new training opportunities available out there. And I just shared the link to our Global Health Crisis Reporting Forum. That is a new initiative we launched this year. And you can also please join us there. You can connect with journalists from everywhere around the world and discuss, how this year is treating you. We created this because of the pandemic. Journalists need to support each other. So join us there as well.
So we did have a question from a young woman, Maria Isabel. She just graduated in May 2020. And she's specifically interested in sports journalism, and she wonders if you know of any opportunities for sports journalism.
Congratulations on graduating. Not specifically in sports, however, if the Bringing Home the World, when we open it again next year, if you're interested in covering a sports story overseas that relates to your community, to the whatever sports thing that is happening in the city and the coverage you currently do, you can apply to do a story there. Nora just gave an example of a sports journalist that participated in an exchange. If your newsroom is hosting, you can request that you would like a journalist that covers sports, and you connect with them and you get to travel to their country. So specifically with sports, we don't have it right now, but every time we offer either webinars or programs here in the US on digital skills, you can just apply them for the topic that you cover, whether it's politics, sports, or any other. So yeah.
And I would suggest, again, go to IJNet and see if they have listed another opportunity that it's not an ICFJ opportunity, but maybe they have listed something.
Right. That's the great thing about IJNet. It's not about our opportunities, it's about everyone else's. So just literally do a search for sports and you'll be surprised.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Our panelists have been busy just putting up a whole bunch of links to some really great sounding resources for those of you who are with us, and those of you who will see us later, because this is being recorded and other folks can call it up.
And our email addresses are public on the website too. You can contact Aldana or me or anybody really at ICFJ. I know the recommendation comes from Too Close because I've been at ICFJ for the longest time, but we're one of the few organizations that actually reply to the email that we get from any journalist asking anything.
Absolutely.
We tailor the response to you and we help you because that's the main goal. Everyone who works at ICFJ is very passionate, and we all work to improve the quality of journalism everywhere. So we start at home, right, in the US.
Absolutely. And as Joanna was saying, sometimes it's very difficult when a program ends and someone asks for feedback. It is very difficult to provide like a personal feedback or someone who asking a very specific question. That's kind of difficult. But in my case, for example, I do share some tips or ways on how to improve applications for if they want to apply the next time. So yes, we try to answer all the questions that we get from journalists around the world, and because that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, and so then please connect with us, follow us on social, get the iGener bulletin, apply, ask us questions if you're unsure whether you should be applying to this program or not. It can even be that you in your newsroom and your colleagues have been discussing this training opportunity that doesn't exist, and you think someone should be offering it. Talk to us, and maybe we work with NAHJ and we put the idea together and we offer that training. I mean, the opportunities are endless. We just need you to be proactive, right? You're all professional journalists and the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of going after them.
Excellent. So last call, if anybody has a question.
I see two familiar names, faces. Yeah. Hi.
Who's that, Joanna?
Rosalba, Jorge.
Yeah, and this is Rosalba. I would just like to add, I don't have a question, but I worked with ICFJ about 10 years ago. And so if you feel you have something to contribute, like Joanna said, feel free to contact them. They are excellent to work with. They made it easy. It was the first time I taught an online class and they made it super easy. It was a great experience. Nice seeing you, Joanna.
Testimonials, we will always take testimonials. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I would just second that. I've taken a couple of classes from ICFJ and I did a fellowship with them 5 years ago. That is
Man. It's been
largely,
5 years.
yeah, it's actually largely the reason why I have the job that I have now. So apply early and often for ICFJ programs. They're amazing.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
I was not planted here.
Absolutely not. I had no idea both of you were going to be here, but happy to see you. So anyway, I hope you guys connect and we're here to help you, to help each other. That's what this is about. And just remember to see yourselves as the new leaders, right? Starts there. So get new training opportunities, continue to sharpen your skills. Don't stop.
Thank you so much, Joanna and Aldana, and thanks everyone else who joined us here today. I highly encourage you to take advantage of these programs. They can be reinvigorating. They can help you find your next job, and they can just help you to tell some amazing stories and great journalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.